Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to season two of the Stephanie Stevens Show, right here on Pronoun TV. Thank you guys so much for sticking around for season two, and hopefully, a lot of you will support the show and spread the word, share the love. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about transphobia and bullying. And today we have Mr. Russell Mania in the house tonight, and he's going to talk about his experience. He's really concerned about a lot of things happening in the Two Spirit pronoun community. And sometimes we just have to take action, and that's what Russell is has decided to do. So today on the show, we're going to talk about transphobia and bullying and what we can do to improve our relationships with each other in our community. Because the LGBTQ two-spirit pronoun community seems to be having a lot of issues with each other about how they identify or how they feel about the way you look or you don't look or what you have or what you don't have. So Russell's going to help put a little bit of some education into us, and hopefully we can inspire others so we can do better within our community. Now, I want to start off with saying that this was the meaning of transphobia from Google in Wikipedia. It says transphobia. I'm sorry, transphobia. It says it's transgender or gender non-conforming people may experience harassment or discrimination from people who are scared or uncomfortable with their identities. These, that's what it says. So hopefully Russell Mania will clarify this for us a little bit more. So welcome to the show, Mr. Russell Mania. How you doing?
I'm great. Here we are in Florida, waiting for the
Oh,
next storm. Yes,
yeah. Is the weather really bad there?
not yet, but it's summer. You know what happens in the summer in Central Florida about 3 o'clock.
Well, I'm from
Yeah.
Orlando, and Florida is swampland.
hmm
Everything is built on swampland, so it's what it is, and it's I love Florida, and I love the beautiful weather and the lifestyle and the mere fact of it's just a great place to live if it wasn't for all the hurricanes and the bad weather. But it's a great place to retire. Now, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on to the show. Like I said, I had you here last year and for season one, and now we're back for season two, and you look fabulous.
Thank you. So do you.
You look fabulous. So now let's talk about transphobia and bullying in our community. Now, regret and just overall hatred, our community is deep seated with these kind of things. Um, Rebellion, hatred, revenge, just overall stigmatizing people from the way they look or their race or gender. It's can you explain to us today what transphobia and bullying means to you? And what do you think we need to do to bridge the gap between what's happening in the gay community?
Okay, first of all, Stephanie, thank you for having me back on. And
No.
I've been silent a little bit too long, and I've been kind of afraid to speak out because being an entertainer, you could shun yourself and lose some bookings. But it gets to the point where I can't just sit by and let this keep on going. Um, we've always had our little classes of distinction. Even when I was younger, the drag queens and the leather puppies, and they didn't like each other, some of them, and But I will say this: when the leather puppies needed something, needed money raised, where did they go? To the drag queen.
Oh yes.
Say that because the drag queen is the center of the fundraising events in our community. Has always been that, and will probably always be. That being
Mhm.
said, the bullying and the transphobia that's been going on is, I'm going to give you an example of what just recently happened here in St. Pete. We have a prominent pageant drag queen winner.
Mhm.
I'm talking at least state, maybe national titles. I don't want to mention names because
Yeah, please don't mention no names.
it's tacky.
Okay.
But it's but she was having an argument with a trans man on social
Mhm.
media, and then she ended it by saying, "Sit down, little girl."
Uh-huh.
And that the person that was said it about was is very nice. Is a very nice man,
Mhm.
um, and didn't deserve that. And I feel, um, if you have a personally, if I was a pageant promoter and you are a current title holder and you say crap like that, you lose your crown.
Mhm.
Okay, because you are representative of the gay community. You're supposed to be the you're supposed to be a person you could go to when you need help, and I mean, you are a representative of the gay community. You were a, I don't know. It just bothers me. But but what bothers me is, yes, that person's feelings was hurt, but he got over it. But let's think about this for a minute. You have the young, for every one person that's out, there's probably 3 or 4 or more that aren't. And
Mhm.
you have a young trans person who wants to come out. Their family is not so accepting. So they want to come out to a safer area, and they can't because this stuff is going on in what's supposed to be a safe place.
Mhm.
And that was brought up as well by, I was thinking this was said by the person he was attacked. Now, what I want to say also is, the answer to that is not to attack the other person and bring them down. The answer is to make them accountable for what they said without bullying them.
Mhm.
It's no different. We can't shade people or shame people into that. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to turn myself in for a second. I'm a stand-up comic. I said something that was offensive to the, and it wasn't intended because I wasn't
Mhm.
thinking. When you're a comedian, it's a different thing altogether. You go for a joke,
Oh, I know.
and
Comedy
so
can be sticky.
it's a little sticky now. It's like, so I got called on it, and I thought about it, and I can say the same joke now, but what I do is I just make it about me. Okay,
Mhm.
and I'm not even going to mention it now because it's silly, but I make it about me now, and it's just as funny. When I realized that sometimes you have to think about how your words impact. I'm not just a stand-up comic in the stand-up comic world. I'm WrestleMania, and I have a lot of following, and I represent the gay community as well, with me being an entertainer. And I have to really kind of watch what I say and how. So I owned up to it, and I apologize for it. Okay,
Mhm.
and the shaming ended. I got a couple of people that will just stay corrected, but they didn't do it on Facebook. They did it privately. That's how you do something. You
That's
don't
right.
don't go on social media and say this person's a bitch or whatever. Oops, sorry. They say, say,
Mhm.
I'm being real.
It's
You
all
don't do
good.
that.
It's all
There's
good.
no point in doing that. You only make yourself look stupid. If you have something to say to that person, you send them a private message, or better yet, you wait and you talk to that person in person and say, what was that? Why did you say that? This is a teaching moment. Maybe they're ignorant and they don't know what they did is wrong. But if you go and attack them and say, "Oh, this was horrible, and you're nothing but a da 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 and this and that," then you're just as bad bullying them, and they're never going to learn their lesson because they're going to be boom like that. They're going to be defensive.
Mhm.
It's supposed to be a loving environment,
Well,
and
you, well, you
we
know,
all make mistakes.
Russell, it's I like the fact that you're speaking out about this. This is not something that's new in our community. Our community has been fighting this these different racism and these different gender misconforming issues for a very long time, and it's gotten worse as social media has exploded around the world, and that's people the pandemic has made people more in communication now than ever. So now people really feel free. They feel like they can just be free to say anything because of social media, and because they're not working at the bars that they work at. They don't see you as often, so then they don't have to be accountable for their actions right away, because they know that by the time we get out of this pandemic, they think you will be and forgot what has transpired within the social media world, because information is like this now. We're bombarded with so much noise that one story mutes the next story. You know what I mean? But for some
Oh,
reason,
yeah.
we keep going back to the transphobia and the bullying. So it is a real issue for us. And I thank you for speaking up, because, sometimes we just have to say it the way it is.
Yeah, and really really what this is all about, if you get down to the psychological end of it, it's probably these people have some issues with themselves, and they're lashing out because they want to feel better about themselves by
Mhm.
putting other people down or whatever. I understand the anger of what of some of the things was said, and this particular person has also used the N word, has also made racist rants, and the national hamburger chain that hired her. Okay, say I didn't say the name, but we all know what I mean.
Mhm.
di- Didn't make a public apology for her behavior, um, and was not quick to remove her.
Mhm.
You make a mistake, you own up to it. Um, and I'm beginning to believe that that particular hamburger chain really doesn't give a damn about the gay community at all. I think they're out there to make a quick buck, and that's my opinion, and my opinion only. But you told me to keep it real.
Hmm. Well, we
Um,
know a lot of straight businesses, and even our own entrepreneurs or promoters in our community, has exploited us forever. And so
yeah,
they're all out just to make a fast dollar, and they really could care less about the gay community or about um, any of the real issues in the gay community. They just care about what they can put in their pockets
yeah.
as quickly as possible. now, now this trans man, did he go in defense of himself?
He went on, and actually, he did a very classy thing, and he said that please do not argue for me that this person needs love. This person has no love in their heart and need to find it. He took the high road, um, and that's what made me think because he's the one that brought up the fact that we need to educate,
Hmm.
uh, and um, and it was just a beautiful thing, and it really kind of
Well,
all started with a questionable pageant that you know how pageants are.
I know how pageants are, and it's there.
It scores change, and they make a mistake, they added it wrong, and then everybody's like rigged, rigged, rigged. I don't, everybody relax,
Mhm.
okay, relax, okay. Make
Russell,
this,
it's great to see that trans men now are standing up for themselves. I see them all over social media talking about their surgeries now, talking more open and candidly about how they really feel and what the real issues of the misgendering, how it's affecting them. So I think that the conversation has started. It needs to be our community, the gay community is it's very difficult for them to understand trans men, because first place they really don't like lesbians in the first place, and they just consider they would never consider trans men because they have such a hatred for lesbians or women who identify as either studs or they're masculine and all this kind of stuff. I don't know why that is. I think because um, trans men and lesbians, or is it okay? I think it's okay to say lesbians. I think because they show a strong male presence. They show something that a lot of the gay men in our community don't show. Because when I'm trying to say this the right way, because a lot of it comes from a lot of gay men in our community are considered bottoms. Bottoms are considered feminine. So I think that when they're t- talking to, you know, the community in a sense, or acting out in a sense, it's sort of from that perspective of how they feel about themselves. Because we know 75% of most gay men are not the most masculine. And when a woman who identifies as a trans man steps in to say, well, this is how I identify, and they have the courage to say, I'm a man, I feel like a man. And most gay men have a problem even identifying as gay. We're all now talking about and expressing, I'm gay, or I see all different kinds of things people talking about. I'm HIV positive now. I'm gay. These are things that people didn't talk about before. I'm a bottom and stuff. And I think that you have started the conversation with the transphobia and the bullying, and I hear a lot of it, so I know that we're talking a little bit about it. What do you think we need to do about educating the community? What do you think we need to do?
I think for the most part, um,
Sorry about my rant.
that's okay. We all have them. I had one the other day.
Oh,
For one, I think that the gay men need to fully understand and appreciate all the sacrifices that lesbians have made for our rights.
mhm,
Because for the most part, um, lesbians and actually women, trans people of color, have are the reason that we have our rights.
mhm,
And we don't know enough about our history. For one, two, we got to get over the stigma. I'm in Polk County, and most uneducated straight people always view gay men as weak.
mhm,
Um, and I that may have something to do with it. It's perceptions of ourselves. The beauty thing about Pride is for a week, oh, we're all united, we're all together, blah, 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 blah. And when the parade goes away and the banners go down, then the separation begins again.
mhm,
And we in order for us to be accepted in the world, we need to be accepted. We need to be accepting of one another and set the example of tolerance. We can't
mhm,
teach tolerance to other people if we are not showing that example. So, in order to stop the bullying, we need to stop within our own community and say, hey, this isn't right. Okay. I
mhm,
have two drag sons that are both trans men. Okay. I admit that I still have a lot to learn,
mhm,
but you need to um, talk to some trans men, get to understand where they're at. I have supported cut the boobies off pageants, or fundraisers so that trans men can lose their boobies.
mhm.
Um,
Well, I actually have a few coming up in season two, few trans men sharing their stories. I've already filmed them. They're quite interesting. And we have to be thankful because before trans men were trans men, they were women. They identified as women. So a lot of us here on this planet would not be here if it wasn't for the women who birthed us.
Yes.
So we need to understand that the women are the creators of life,
Well,
with the help of men, but they're the ones that go through the pain of delivering us on this planet. And sometimes when women change what we think of as norm, because trans men were not very visible for a long time. We just considered them lesbians and they were butch.
that's
Now
Butch.
now they're being themselves and identifying as men and born this way and taking steps to be who they are. I think
It's a
society
wonderful thing.
yeah, it is a wonderful thing. It really it's wonderful
It's a
and
wonderful thing.
it's
Everybody can do that. You
it's
know,
wonderful
the
and powerful.
and one thing too, um, in the news we always hear about these trans women getting murdered, and the
Hmm.
police don't want to do anything about it. I've heard police even say, uh, well, they're weird or they asked for it or this other bullshit, and it just doesn't get priority. We had one murder about 2 or 3 years ago, pretty bad here in Polk County, and the person was caught, and that was good. But it 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 saddens the community. Um, and I was just even saying, not only with the trans men, but drag kings in general do not get
Hmm.
do not get the respect and the talents that they do. We have some wonderful ones, yes, they do. Um, that do get booked, but they're not as common.
Hmm.
Um,
Well,
but we do have some. I I
well,
have to shout out to
go
Adam
ahead.
Cole because Adam Cole went into All American Jet. He was the first transgender male to be in that contest, and he came third. Okay,
Well, that's
he is
good.
setting records. He is setting. He's opened the window, and I was proud to be part of that fundraiser that got him there. Okay, and I try to be as supportive as I can, and I think that all of us, there are a lot of people that are supportive, and I don't want to anybody think that everybody's against them. There's only a small amount of people with that do this, but
Hmm.
we have big mouths, and it just blows up, and then you have. And the other thing too, I'm going to say this, and people are going to don't at me, okay, and don't hate me for it, but we got to stop all the cattiness. Okay, it's a lot of cattiness. When people fail or they have a problem, the first thing that some, not all, but some want to do is go, "Grr." Did you hear
Hmm.
about it all over social media? And by the time it actually gets onto the Facebook feed about 3 or 4 times, they killed Jimmy Hoffa. By the time it gets done,
Oh yeah.
okay, because it's all twisted and shit with stuff. um,
It's I want to just say this for a minute, Russell. You know, trans men and have decided that they want it to be more visible, which I think is a brilliant and powerful thing. I think also that when you think about trans men who perform or drag kings who perform, I think the fact that we don't recognize it as much is because gay men really don't like. I I'm trying not to. I'm trying to say this in the right way. That way, because I know you understand that gay men don't really like lesbians. So no matter how a lesbian identifies, they still consider them just a lesbian, and they don't want them in the club because I've worked at several clubs where they didn't want them in the clubs. And a lot of times when you see drag kings or trans men and they're trying to perform, they don't perform to the level that you see the drag queens perform. Because I think the history of drag kings and lesbians is these plaid shirts and jeans and kind of rough rider kind of thing. And people don't really see them as entertainers because, you know, when you look at male entertainers compared to females, it's always we're drawn more to women because of the glitz and the glamour. We're drawn more to the men because of their strong muscular physique, or there's something that is eccentric about them. And when you see trans men, they look a lot different than what we used to, because trans men back in the day used to just look like regular lesbians who identified as themselves or whoever they were trying to be. And I don't, I I give a lot of credit to the trans men have taken on this crusade to just be who they are. So now we're seeing them visibly looking more like men. And I think that that is the first step to acceptance. And because we can talk all day, but we know, and you know, and I know as entertainers, the way you look is the way we see you. So,
Okay, I'm going to say,
because we live, I'm talking about entertainment. I'm not necessarily talking about real life. I'm
I
talking
get it.
about entertainment. Now, if you want us to respect you as a man, you need to act like a man, look like a man. We could care less what's in your pants because we might not be the one sleeping with you. So we don't know if you're male or female. We know aesthetically you look like a man. And that is something that I think brings a little bit of respect, because at least people know you're trying to live your truth, or
Okay.
that's who you are. I mean, you know, your mother and father, your brother and your sister will always call you, even after you have said, this is how I feel, this is how I look. Even sometimes to this day, the majority of the time, when people ask me how I identify, I say I identify as we, us, them, they, she, he, because that's how I live. And that's what I surround myself with. So every now and then, my sister will say Larry. She won't just say Stephanie unless she sees me done up. But most of the time, she calls me Larry. And I don't have a problem with that, because for me, that is my sister.
Yeah.
And I know that that's what she grew up with. But I know when I'm in drag, she calls me Stephanie. And it's almost like it's just natural. So I think aesthetically, when I'm looking, let's say I'm looking at Russellmania, the entertainer, I'm looking at Russellmania, the entertainer right now. If I saw Whitney Houston with no wig on and no clothes, no beaded gowns and no nothing, and just walked out on stage, we would pay her no mind. So I think
Okay.
when you look a certain way, um, you need to be clear about how people identify you as, because sometimes I see a lot of women online screaming right now because they're wearing wigs and makeup and eyelashes, and straight men are now calling real women, they think that they're drag queens or transsexuals or men dressed up, cross-dressing and all this kind of stuff. So it's very funny. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go back a couple of things. But the drag kings here in Florida, uh, most of them are stunning now. They are fabulous entertainers. They use lighting. They use makeup effects. They create fake beards. They actually are on hormones and have their own beards now. They have lost their chest. They've been working out. They're on hormones, but they are fabulous entertainers. And me as a booker now, as a show director, uh, I had my first brunch Sunday. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I got
That's
tired of waiting for somebody to ask me to perform in one, so I just said, you know what? I will start my own. I ain't
that's
gonna
right.
wait anymore. I'm 56 years old. I'm too damn old to wait. But I book it, and I have gigs here in the Pink Piano where I book my drag sons. Um,
Mhm.
and when I was show director of my bar in Tampa, we always had at least one or two drag kings in it, because to me, diversity is not just about color, but it's also diversity. And
Mhm.
even I'll say this, even as a male entertainer, I have received a lot of crap when I first came back out saying, well, you don't put makeup on. You do. What is Boy George? When I do Boy George, that's more makeup on than most drag queens are wearing. Okay.
Mhm.
Plus all the, all the clothing and the layers and the, okay, whatever. Um, so, and I'm gonna say this out too, because what I try to do is I try to, we have some great male entertainers out there, like, Kurt Da Vinci, Onyx Valentino. They're very great male entertainers as well. I'm very fortunate this year. Last year, I was voted for best. I was nominated for best drag entertainer in Tampa Bay. This
Mhm.
year, I was nominated again, but I'm in the top 20 now. So, but I'm the only male entertainer in the list, and there's really no
Mhm.
drag king in that list. And this is stuff that's voted on by the community. But what I like is, the reason I'm saying it is not to be braggadocious necessarily, but is to say that through hard work and determination, and marketing yourself, and branding yourself and getting it out there, you can change people's minds. If you give them a good performance, they don't care if you're wearing pumps. They don't care if you don't care. They're there to see
Mhm.
a good show. They pay that cover. You're doing a good job. You keep getting booked, and I'm booked steadily all over, because I'm headlining in Ocala this weekend.
Look at
Yes,
that. Well, congratulations.
I
Russell, you're a smart guy, and I want to just say, I know that a lot of times I have walked. I've walked into dressing rooms, and I've seen queens when they're talking about other people in the dressing room, or if a trans man comes in the dressing room, because I worked at La Cage for years, and we had an Elvis impersonator that did Roy Orbison Elvis, and he used to take down his chest, and everything, and he took it very seriously. So when you saw him performing, when he put his Elvis suit on and stuff, you thought you were actually looking at Elvis. He was amazing, and so uh, my point being is that I know walking into a dressing room or walking into a club, and sometimes people don't think you're going to be fabulous or you're going to be a great entertainer because of the way you look or what they perceive. And sometimes they look at drag kings and and people that are just a little bit different than the cookie cutter that they're used to. They have something smart to say. I have gone to many gigs, and done shows, and I go in as Larry. Now, you can see that I am not the most masculine person. Anybody you see sitting in front of a club with 6 or 7 suitcases is an entertainer, you would think, or you couldn't think I'm sitting in front of your club with all these suitcases here, with a cell phone, and I'm homeless. You would think, who is this? And I've had many club promoters book me, and when they see Larry show up, they don't understand. I think they think I'm this trans woman, transsexual, that they see with all this makeup and stuff on. And then they're shocked when they see me done up. So I do understand that sometimes people can be a little mean, because I've had many, even clients after I do the shows, I would get out of drag, and clubs would give me promotional tickets to give people free drinks, people who were in my contest that didn't win anything. I would go around and give them at the end of the show coupons, but I would do it as Larry. And a lot of these people looked at me like I was dirt. And they were like, I was like, I'm Stephanie. No, you're not.
Yeah,
And you know,
I had that same problem when I did drag.
and you get that a lot. So I understand people not sometimes when they don't recognize or understand what it is that either drag kings do or trans men there, because a lot of gay men, they could just care less, because the gay community in itself is instant gratification. You look good, let's go.
Well,
You
I
look
can say,
good, I'm
well,
sorry.
that's okay. I can say though, the one of the problem is not necessarily with that. Okay, there are great clubs, like Cityside Lounge that has a stage showcase like Morgan Lachey, who brings in drag kings, uh, gender queer people, different colors, different races, different styles. And Cityside has been very supportive of me and all male entertainers and drag kings and even burlesque. And
Oh,
it's one example in Tampa that does that, and the Copa and Ocala is very supportive of that too. So they're out there, but there are a lot of clubs who, especially in Orlando and in the main inside the cities, that really only want to cater to the white male 2021 to 30, and they
yeah.
don't see anybody else but them.
And I know I worked in many of those clubs for years. And Russell, I can just imagine. I want to say this here in a sense of is I'm fatter than I've ever been in my whole life. I'm bigger now than I've ever been. I've never been really a very big person, and my shoulders have been big, but I've always been kind of just there. Now, since the pandemic, I put on some weight. I feel better anyway. I feel I don't know. I just feel more womanly. But I know you must feel strange, even though I know a lot of the girls in the stage are bigger women. And yourself, do you ever feel like when you go into a dressing room and people look around and they see you and they think, and do you feel like sometimes you just don't belong in the space because of the way the other entertainers treat you?
Okay, I would say this: when I was doing contests, I had young drag queens look at me and go, "Well, we know who's not going to win tonight or who's coming in last place." And you
Oh,
know what happened? They did. And who
well,
took the trophy? Thank you.
yeah,
Okay,
they
don't
always, they always, they always,
don't judge a book by its cover, and you have to understand this is done by audience applause. And I'm a regular in this bar, so unless you do something, because everybody wants to do a death drop and do the splits and do all this stuff. Okay,
you
and
don't
and
need to
they
bluff.
don't worry about lip sync anymore. They just whoop blah 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 blah. Great,
Yeah.
that works for you. I ain't knocking it, so please don't at me, people. It's whatever
Hmm.
works for you. You won't get booked on my show, okay, or any of my shows, but that's my preference.
So
Okay, I
what do you think needs to change? What do you think we need to do? What's the first steps we need to take to try to bridge the gap? I mean, because we can talk all day, but if we're not taking action, nothing's going to change.
okay. There's two things. There's three things that can be done. Is one is that the show directors and bar owners need to have a little bit more courage and book alternate entertainers. Not all the time necessarily, but throw one in there. Throw one in there and start to slowly, because if they feel isolated, they're not going to come out. Don't give them their own night either. Okay, we want to integrate. Okay, we
Mhm.
don't need our own separate shows. We want to all be inclusive, and inclusive shows are really good. And we have a lot of those.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
get me wrong. It's just really a small, but I'm looking at flyers. Okay, because I'll be honest, when I'm thinking about doing an event, at the place I work in, I'm looking to see what everybody else is doing. And what I see,
Mhm.
it's just pasty white drag queens up there, uh, you know, on a lot of clubs. Um, but on some, like for instance, I asked to perform in Melbourne at a
Hmm.
place. And the first thing he said, well, we really only do drag queens. I go, why? And secondly, they were like, well, why don't you come to the amateur show and audition? Well, okay, I've been doing this for 35 years. I will audition for America's Got Talent. I will audition for a TV show. I will audition for a movie role. But I am not going to audition to do Elton John, which I do for a living. I am not doing that. I got video.
Hmm.
You either want me or you don't. I don't beg for work anymore. I don't need to. Okay. But they've got to open their eyes and say, the one thing that I was told at Stonewall, the reason that they booked me is because there are people that are above 30 that love the song choices that I make. And they feel entertained because they can relate. They can relate. And
Hmm.
that's having a diversity. If you have a diverse cast, you're going to have a diverse audience.
And you're
You're
going
going
to
to
have
get
a
those
packed
people over
house.
30. You're
And
going to
you're
get
going to
those
have a
people
packed
over
house.
30, and they'll come out and they will
Hmm.
spend money, and and they will come support it because there's somebody up there like them.
That's right.
And they got to learn that, and a lot of ours have learned that, and a lot of ours haven't. um
I used to say this all the time when I worked in one of the clubs up the street from my house. It was the most popular club in the city. And I used to say that all the time. There's no real diversity here. Everybody here is white, good looking, bodies of death. And the only reason I'm here is because you think I'm beautiful and I'm funny. But I better not step over the line because you're ready to throw me out the door because the next young one that doesn't do any talking on the microphone, that doesn't do this here, is ready to step in my spot. But the reason this place is packed is because of me and my mouth, and
mhm,
probably because of the way I look. And I know gay white men love beautiful things to look at and to play
yes.
with, hopefully play with. So they're more likely, it was
uh,
easy for me to bring them up onto the stage for the contest because of the way I look. So I know that. But and also that I was funny and made them laugh and stuff like that. But I do find that um we're going to have to make a real, we are so sociably looking at people that that's all we see them as the way they look. But I have found when you have a diverse house, the place is packed and rocking.
yes.
And when I found that you had the other group, whether they're all white, like you said, between 18 and 30, everybody's muscular, or they had there's certain clubs that certain groups can go to, and this and that, and certain events for this one and that one. When you have these things, it puts in people's mind, I can only go to that bar because that's what I'm looking for. Because I know it's easier for me to integrate into that, even though we all should probably be going to mixed bars so we can understand different cultures, experience different people, experience different conversations with different people, and be around different people. We can dance with different people, do these things. This makes us learn and become more acceptable of others. And that is
Yes.
something the gay community is going to have to start to do, is to be more diverse. And to understand diversity, we have to put it in people's faces because
Exactly. it's,
because
it's the only way they're going
now,
to learn.
and because now the world is not just white. We're starting to see visible everything. And social media is prime example of that, even though it's controlled mostly by uh, older white men with that Christian kind of mentality, or that money making mentality of, this is the group that spends the most money, so we're going to cater to that group. And Russell, there's nothing wrong with businessmen wanting to make money. But to make change and to make more money, you need diversity. You need understanding because you cut yourself out of markets that you could be working in. You should be, as WrestleMania comedian, you should be able to go in where any other comedian in the world should be able to go to and perform.
And I do.
And it's not, this is what I don't like. And I said this the other night in a conversation. I had it with somebody at one of the pageants, and I think she was really upset with me because I said this to her. I know you are Miss Gay so and so. Why is the word gay still there today? Why are you Miss Gay? Why aren't you just Miss whatever the name of the title of the pageant is or the state is? Why are you Miss Gay? And she didn't like that. She couldn't understand it. She thought I put her in a trap or something. I thought, why don't you're not Miss Gay? Who are you talking to? Like, who are you? Who is who you talking to? You're telling gay men in a gay bar that you're Miss Gay. Why don't you take the gay out? Why are you Miss Gay? They already know you're gay. They already know you're a trans woman. They know this. Why are you putting this gay in there? And I thought, I've always said that. Any pageant I've ever done, and I promoted many of these things, I never put the word gay. Because I don't think that that is the name of the pageant. So I just don't understand it.
I do.
Listen, I understand if you want to be inclusive and you want to be looked at like other women in a pageant system, you want to enter Miss America or Miss USA, nobody is going to stand, no company is coming to go get that girl who won Miss Gay this or Miss Gay that. They want to know you were Miss Arkansas, Miss Ocala, or Miss Tampa, or Miss Lakeland. That's what people want to know. And this is the mentality that women in these pageants need to have, not Miss Gay this. Even I say the same thing about Black pageants. You don't need to say Miss Black America. You need to come up with something. It's just this is the pageant is Miss America. She just happens to be Black. We know that there's a need for Black pageants, but there's a need for Black pageants that include inclusiveness. If you consider it just Black, you're isolating your audience. You're telling the world there's no place for you but at this pageant.
Yeah, but things are changing now because we have transgender women that are in the actual Miss America in various state pageants. I think even 5 years ago that was not possible. And although it happened, because I do remember something happened in the 80s and they found out and they took her state title away, which I don't think is fair. But that's how they did it back then. But I mean, these things will all take change. And I mean, I understand why somebody will say that because we've been trained to say that. We've been trained to say that when I did pageants when I was younger. It was always Miss Gay this, Miss Gay that, because I think at one point we wanted to say we're going to have our own. The problem with the gay community, we've always tried to set ourselves up like the heterosexual world. Okay, so I guess to try to get accepted or something, I don't know, or maybe it's just a baseline of something that we understood, even to the point where I say my husband, I say my husband because I don't know of a better word to say. We are married, so I don't know what else to say, but it's because we never were brought up that way. Now, what I'm seeing now, though, and this is the problem, growing up gay when our age, because we're around the same age.
Yeah,
we didn't have the option of really dating when we were in high school. We didn't have the option of being public with our affections or who we loved and all that. We have this new generation
Mhm.
that doesn't have that anymore, which is great. Which is
Mhm.
great. Okay. I feel that our generation did that, and so the other people will feel safer. The problem I have is that it's not really a problem, but some of them don't understand or appreciate the history of which our generation sacrificed so they could go out and be who they are. And um, still, I'm in Polk County. I still probably cannot hold my husband's hand going through the mall. Um, Tried somebody to beat me up. Look at me. Okay, well that was.
Mhm.
I'm a big guy. I will sit on you. I will beat the crap out of you. I will beat the crap out of you, and then I'll do your hair when I'm done with you. So, yes.
Well, Russell, I want to say thank you for being on the show today. Hopefully we've had a long conversation here. I'm sure we'll have lots more. I'll have you back again when we're able to do a little bit of the entertaining, because with the copyright laws, we have a lot of things that we're going to have to get past. But I want to thank you on your enlightenment today. So in closing, what's your advice in closing for transphobia and bullying? What's your advice?
My advice is it's the golden rule. You treat people like you want to be treated, and just because you don't understand something doesn't mean it's wrong. And just because you don't understand something, it's who they are, and you have to respect their space and who they are, because you know what, a lot of them are just now coming to the realization of who they are. They're emotionally a little bit more delicate, and we need to be supportive and say, hey, look, hey, be you.
Hmm.
Because I mean, I'm allowed to be me, but you know what, it took me, I was in my 40s before I fully accepted everything who I was. I drank a lot to cover a lot of it up, and now I'm like, I am me. I am Mania Henry Roar. Um, I am I am who I am. And let everybody be who they are. Just love each other. And if you don't have something nice to say, then shut up.
There you
Okay.
go.
You keep
And
your
on,
opinions to yourself.
and there you go. And on that note, we're gonna close off. I want to say thank you so much today, Mr. Russell Mania. I'm gonna just say this to the audience, and then I'll say goodbye. Um, Thank you. You know, it's simple, people. You respect me, I respect you, regardless of how you identify, who you love. We're going to have to learn how to get to know each other, understand each other, and respect each other for just who we are and who we've decided that we want to be, or who we feel that we were born to be. Um, and realizing that diversity is an amazing thing, and learning from different people and different cultures and educating yourselves on these issues and these cultures and these backgrounds is fascinating. It's like when you were in school, you were so eager to read Edgar Allan Poe, or you were so eager to know about Michelangelo and why he cut his ear off. Isn't it fascinating to know? Wouldn't it be fascinating to know that you can go to different parts of the world now on the internet and talk to people that you never in the world would imagine that you could talk to or be attracted to see that you can talk to people of different races and go, hmm, somebody lied to me. They're not like that. And they're
Hmm.
not like this. I talk to them. I understand them. I see, what they eat, what they do. And it's a wonderful thing and a powerful thing to educate yourself and just you know understand that diversity is a powerful energy, and it's something we all need to do and understand. So on that note, excuse me, I was trying not to do that because it
Yes.
was killing, because I've been talking the whole time. I was like, oh my god. Well, And in closing, um, thank you. And understanding who you are and understanding that people are just who they are. Sometimes it's better not to try to over analyze anything and overthink it. Just let people be who they are, and it'll all be better for us all in the long run. So thank you, Russell Mania, for being on here today and educating us about transphobia and bullying and a lot of other subjects. And hopefully we've educated some people out there that just have an open mind. Think for yourself. Don't worry about what others have to say. Just be you. Just be you. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Pronoun TV and the Stephanie Stevens Show. And thank you, Mr. Russell Mania, for explaining it all to us. And you got me ranting most of the conversation. So thank you, sir, very much. And we will chat again. Until next time, my friends, thank you guys for supporting season 2 of Pronoun TV and the Stephanie Stevens Show. Have a blessed week, y'all. Thank you, Russell.
All right.